I have been trying hard to not have to use Figma. So I've been trying every technique in the book over the last like month or so, just to try to prompt my way to a nicely looking UI, and I can't for the life of me get that to work. It's like I'm prompting like use the design system from Tailwind. You use this as a reference. Here's some screenshots. Like it doesn't get it.
What's the idea behind you really trying to stay away from Figma? Why, basically?
I think it's you're officially live.
We are officially live, exactly. I mean, this is just an experiment.
So Nick, AI is all the buzz. There's updates every 30 seconds. I'm having a hard time keeping up. People are looking for strategies to kind of cope. At the end of this episode, what do we want to have our listeners learn?
That's a great question. I think that they should learn that they should be that they basically shouldn't listen to anyone. Don't fall for anything they find online, and do your own research, and and then decide what of all those announcements and updates and what is useful and what isn't.
Agreed. Yeah. Because it can be overwhelming sometimes. If you're trying to keep up, there's a shiny new toy every 30 seconds. There's a technique that you have to use. They're all useful, but at a certain point, at least for me, it feels like you're just using a thing to use a thing, and like I feel like we should be more practical than that.
I think so. For me, the challenge is things just need to get done. I have work to do, so I feel like I have limited time to really sit down and play with the new toys.
Yeah, I think I think that might be the strategy. That's what I'm realizing, that like you can use all these tools, but like doesn't make sense practically for your day to day. I think that might be the sanity check. Like I need to do, there's these set of tasks that I do every day. Can AI be involved? Potentially. Does it need to? Does it make my job faster? And also on the other side, there's like, because it allows us to move so much faster, there's a lot of more output to review. So it might be diminishing return.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. And still, like always, your clients don't care. They don't care if it's how you have an idea they like and they ask you to build it. They just want to see the thing being stable and well performing and ready, like you agreed to do. They don't care if it came to you in a dream, in the shower, or from a vibe coded or paper prototype thing or whatever. But I think we designers, we are putting way too much emphasis on, this tool is better. You suck because you use this old tool. Like we discussed around portfolios. It's it's who can shout the loudest about their tools to make you feel better, maybe, or less insecure. I don't know, but I'm starting to ramble, and we're only a few minutes into this episode. But yeah, so but that's what I'm saying. Like, you shouldn't really pay attention to the hype on social media, and you should really look at your workflow. Like, what are you doing every day? Is there something you repeat every day that's annoying? Is the input and the output more or less the same and related? If so, can you automate it? But there's no one size fits all. And also, big tools like Figma, they're not dying overnight. Also another thing. I'm going to pause there because I feel like I'm just, I'm shouting whatever comes up in my mind. I need some structure, man. Balance this episode, please.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think there's a lot of, I think there's, what I'm thinking about is like, there is, I mentioned in the last episode, like our industry changes and evolves rather quickly. Like it's an exciting field to be in, like not just design, just tech in general, just because things are changing. We get to learn things, and things evolve over time, and our jobs evolve over time. However, for the last like year and a half, it is like 3x in terms of like the evolving speed, if that's a word or a term that we want to use. Like the jobs are flattening, our roles are changing, and then there's a new tool every second that we think we need to learn. It's like, how do we navigate? How do we, like, one is like, don't pay attention. And then the other end is like, sometimes companies like implement like we need to be AI first, AI enabled. We need to use these new tools. Let's see if we can try to burn credits because we look like we're innovative. There's this standard check, but there's also like outside forces kind of feeding us things that we should or shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, that's true. You know, now that I'm calmed down, you know, what I think is very important is, you know, there is useful stuff there. Also, what you're saying, like it's not all fluff, but when you said in the beginning, there's something new every 30 seconds, and that is what it feels like. If you zoom out and you see the pattern, you know, if you can spot it, you know, then it makes sense to pay attention. So, for example, every 30 seconds, a new tool comes out that's trying to replace Figma, and they all have some sort of agent that's connected to code, and you're designing something, and under the hood, it's code. You know, so when everyone's doing it, you know, it probably makes sense to pay attention to it. And it probably means that it's going into that direction. But then the level of paying attention becomes different. You know, you're not paying attention to individual tools, but you're just sitting back doing your job, waiting until one of those tools survives and wins from the other ones. And then you can take a look at the winner. I think that's a much healthier approach. You know, it saves you a lot of energy.
Yeah, and I think there's something. There. I had this actually a mentor session yesterday that put a bit more sanity in my brain. Like I was being mentored. I had I was looking for someone to mentor me. So it was university this time. So like a chief design officer at a company, and I was asking him like, when you're looking over the things that have evolved in the last like year and a half or 2 years with AI, like what is your strategy? How are you leading your team? Like what has changed and like what's your strategy? And then he said something that struck me. It's like, well, I think we're going back to the generalist skill set. It's like the roles are flattening, and then it's just about being a team player, and it's just about contributing.
Yeah.
So I think there's something there. It's like I don't think the tools matter. It's just how are you contributing to the success of the business that we're all kind of collectively working through, and how that looks like may change, but like the output from the individual is really just can we collaborate together, and regardless of if engineers are doing design work or PMs are doing engineering work, designers are doing engineering, like regardless, like we're looking to that generalist thing where like we're a construction we're construction workers looking to build this building. I don't care. We don't care who's hammering in the nails and who's sawing the wood.
Yeah. I mean, that it feels like it's going there, doesn't it? But what I'm noticing also is that if you are broadening your role beyond the borders of what is your role. So let's say you're a designer who's going into code, for example. You need to learn a developer's mindset also. And when you do not do that yet, when you haven't succeeded yet, it's going to be very annoying for real developers. You know, you're just coming in and with your design hat on, you are trying to develop things. Because, you know, a developer, for example, is really thinking about shared components. If I change something here, it will affect something over there. And if I want to break those two things apart, I need to create a conditional or a second component, or we need to split. And it's more maintenance work when we want to change something else in the future. You know, that kind of thinking, you know, code base hygiene, basically, that's something that comes naturally to a developer. A designer doesn't care about it at all because, well, I can just drag around this rectangle over here in Figma and it doesn't matter. It's not connected at all. And suddenly they have to think about connected rectangles. That is something that takes a lot of time to learn. And I don't hear people talk about that at all. You know, it's just like, I can just do this now. You know, the lines are blurry, but the gap in quality between a designer coding and the actual developer coding is also, you know, is blurry, you know, quote unquote blurry. So I think suddenly you have two mindsets. You have the designer's mindset, you have the developer's mindset, and you have to switch context. So I don't think that change in roles or the broadening of roles is as straightforward as most people are saying.
No, I think it's, there's the gaps to be filled. Like, and also like if everyone's like we've been running into it. Like if everyone's creating a prototype, sometimes people want to use it for sales. Sometimes they're like, it gets blurry of like, what is the source of truth? So like typically you'd have like a PRD created, and then the designer does the Figma design, and then the developer does the coding, and then they create the prototype, and then we know like what we should be focusing on. But
Mhm.
since everyone is like creating their own prototype just to communicate their idea, it's like then it becomes confusing to like each department, like whose thing is the real thing, and then leadership
Yeah.
like sees one piece, like is that the thing? Like it's almost, it looks like it's almost done, but it's not a developer's prototype. It's a PM's prototype or a designer's prototype. It doesn't actually work.
Mhm.
It's masquerading as a thing that's actually working, but
Yeah.
it's not. So that's something to navigate. And like to hark back to your point, like the developer knows how it should be scalable and coded
Yeah.
properly. So using shareable components. So yes, like these tools are helpful, but like there's a PR check or a sanity check that
Mhm.
each that the developer in this case would need to
Yeah.
put their stamp on.
Yeah. Yeah, true. And I mean, what you're saying about your prototypes being all over the place, that's challenging if you are, more or less the one whose job description it is to make the prototypes. Like you are designing, you are the one, the reason you're there partially is because you can make prototypes. But then everyone else is making prototypes. And then that is, mentally, again, it's challenging because what's my worth if everyone can make a prototype?
Mhm.
So I see a lot of people struggling with that. I see a lot of content online where people are saying, it's because of this whole AI wave that we're in or on, it's just not fun anymore. What would you say to that? People feeling it's less fun or even no fun because of AI to be a designer.
I don't think it's the case that it's not fun anymore. Like what was fun? Like it was the Figma stuff that we were doing, or is it creating a thing? What is the fun part? Like we have,
Yeah.
I think it's still fun. I think what it is, it's more overwhelming. It's
Yeah.
the like what we're like our career like trajectory. It looks very fuzzy right now. It's like our to my earlier point, like jobs are changing, things are getting flattened. It's like it's very uncertain times. It's like I used to do this thing and it's changing, and then I'm unsure what I'm going to be doing 6 months or a year down the line.
Mhm.
But in the immediate time, I have all these tools, but like, am I using the right tools? So I think it's just about
Yeah.
like getting your footing. It's like, what is like, we're still doing our job. We're still contributing. It's just like, there's a lot of outside noise that makes it very fuzzy and adds a bit of, removes a bit of clarity, I think, which is like what people are kind of double clicking on. I think it's
Yeah.
not less fun. It's just like, it's probably more fun. It's just like too much fun. I think you're just getting overstimulated.
Yeah, so that maybe, yeah, that makes sense. It's you need to take a step back. It's not fun. It's perhaps just a label people are putting on their, them being forced to make changes. This is not what I've learned in school. Oh shit, I have to relearn. Huh, well, that's not fun. Well, I'm a bit in between. I think it's a lot of fun because I'm doing so much more than I did before. I'm learning all the time, making something better or bigger or more efficient. Perhaps using AI, that motivates me a lot. I really enjoy the building, but at the same time, I also fear for us losing our craft. The painter being in front of the canvas, really painting and thinking things through and having a skill. That's what we do in Figma or in Photoshop or Sketch or Illustrator or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just you sitting down for an afternoon, building something, designing something that looks fantastic. And it's just, you're so motivated and happy you're looking at it. You're like, wow, I made this thing happen, by myself. All this hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. I did this thing. And now you just, you put it all in this black box with a prompt and it poops something out. There's a bit of a disconnect there, I imagine. And that's something I feel sometimes, when in addition to the happiness and it's being more fun. But I do not
Yeah.
want to ignore that part because it is there. And I'm curious what you think. Like, do you have that feeling at all?
I just don't think I have been trying hard to not like have to use Figma. So I've been trying every technique in the book over the last like month or so, just to try to prompt my way to a nicely looking UI, and I can't for the life of me get that to work. It's like I'm prompting like use the design system from Tailwind. You use this as a reference. Here's some screenshots. Like it doesn't get it the same way. At a certain point, I'm like it's everything starting to look vibe coded. And I think the only solution is to jump into Figma and actually kind of manicure things. Because there's such a disconnect between like what does it design is too abstract for AI, I think, at today's stage to understand what we're looking to get at. So you can get to a prototype, yes, but to get to a polished, shiny, nice product, like you need to manicure, zoom to like 200x to the round corners and letters, like typography spacing, to get it correctly. Like the easy part is the connect Claude or Cursor to the Figma MCP and then translate the design. But the actual design work, I've been trying hard, but like you can't skip that step. It's the step that determines the quality of the product, and like you need to kind of push pixels. That's still very important.
Yeah. What's the idea behind you really trying to stay away from Figma? Why, basically?
I think it's just like it's maybe just me being lazy, or just me being very excited to bring something to life and make it work. Like I really like if I'm looking at like when I design something and then I implement it, I'm very excited about it being live. So that it's maybe me just over indexing on like, let me just see the thing actually working and it's in production. But what I've noticed is that like I just can't skip that design phase because it's super important.
Yeah. I mean, try and explain something visual in text only, very specific in the details, where you say, well, the top left corner slightly to the right below it, there's something there. It's gray, but not really gray. It's so hard to explain. Let me tell you something that you will like a lot. It's really special. Ooh. I vibe coded a thing today.
Oh, snap. Here we go. You've not just dipped your toes, you've stepped into the water. I like it. Tell me more.
Yeah. I tripped and fell. No, but I really did it. And I felt like I couldn't stay behind. I had to see for myself. I actually did it twice. One thing was very practical. And I'm not sure if it counts as vibe coded, because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. It was about a table of contents sticky on a page, on scroll, that it stays, but then also at some point, imagine it being to the left of your screen. All the content is to the right of it, the second column. But at some point you hit a full width section with a different background color. So the table of content has to go through it because it's sticky. And it's not just, it's contrast wise, it's a big difference. So you were not able to see the table of content anymore while scrolling through the section. I had it in Figma, like this is the starting point. This is what it looks like mid-scroll. Before we continue, if you're feeling stuck in your design career, or if you feel like you're doing solid work while no one really notices, we've got a bunch of extra stuff on our website.
We're building a community for product designers to actually learn, grow, and get hired, not just scroll and collect more inspiration.
There's also articles, checklists, and courses.
All based on real-world experience from both of us. No fluff, just what actually works.
Check out designtablepodcast.com. The link is in the description. But I felt like it wouldn't really sell that way. Like here's 2 static images of what something looks like on the move. Static versus on the move. It didn't really fit. So I used Claude Code to design just an empty page with just the table of content, the section headers, and then that full width dark section to really, to send over a file to someone, like here, click around or scroll around, just to show you interactively what the thing that I had in mind looked like. So is that vibe coding, or was I the wrong way around because I already knew what I wanted to do? I just needed a way to show it.
Yeah, I think you're on it. You vibe coded. You did it. Dip your toes.
Yeah,
it's official.
Nice. Well, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. I mean,
I think it's like the vibe coding is just like it's a useful tool to explore ideas.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever meant to. I don't think it's ever meant. I mean, we're getting to the point where you can vibe code most things, but like I think the initial like idea was to just try and explore different variations, or just like put your idea from paper to Just
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. For me, I think I'm overly obsessing about the label, vibing, like we discussed. Yeah.
so I'm curious, like, how do you feel? Like, have you changed? Has Nick transformed after your first the vibe code experience? Is something you're going to do more of?
I think so. I think in this sense, in this way, it makes a lot of sense to do it. Because Figma, either my Figma skills are limited. I don't think so. Like I'm not a 10 out of 10 Figma magician, but good enough to be able to draw and visualize anything I want. But that interactivity, I just felt like I'm not going to do that in Figma with the prototyping that they have there. So it was helpful, and the stakeholder was very happy and impressed to see it. Yeah, that's very cool, that table of content. Let's just do it on the entire site, is what they said. So, that's good. It means more work for me, more invoices to be sent. So I'm very happy, and I still feel like myself, because it feels like vibe coding is, to me, it's like, here's this idea, just give me something. But now it was the other way around. Like, I have this thing, I know it's cool, make it clickable for me. So I felt more in control and less vibing. So yeah, that it feels like a good middle ground for me, for sure. But then today I did the full vibe code. I did the full version, for something else, where I just had this idea, and I noticed within myself I was putting it off because I was stuck. Like I didn't really know what to do. And I took a page from your playbook. I described, in context, first prompt, what I wanted to do. And then the second prompt was, this is what we've talked about. Here's a transcript from a meeting. Give me 5 concepts, and there's a positive thing and a negative thing that happened to me there. The negative thing for me was that all 5 ideas were terrible. So I didn't like anything I saw at all, which made me realize this thing that I'm working on is for a paying client, and we've been talking about it for months, and it's just impossible to put months of working together, a year of working together, into the context of a single prompt. They just, you don't remember everything, and you cannot put everything into a prompt. So the output being terrible is as much on me as it is on Claude, because I didn't explain everything. So that's the negative side. But the very positive side is that me looking at it made me realize, like, snap, it shouldn't be this, it should be this thing. And now I have my own idea. So it helped me get unstuck, which is basically just, you going out on the street, you go for coffee somewhere, you bring your challenge with you, and a random person says, how about this? And you say, no, you're not a designer, this sucks. Wait a minute. It's like I'm not sure if you've seen Dr. House on TV, but he's talking to random people, and then at some point he's like, oh, big eyes, and he's like, and he just storms out the room because he has his idea. And that's what happened. That's what's happening with vibe coding. So yeah, that's the positive thing. Negative being, terrible output. Positive, I have my idea.
Yeah, and it's also circled back to like your idea of a couple episodes ago. We talked about like being a meeting facilitator, and you had mentioned that like the benefit of just shooting ideas at the wall, like even terrible ideas, push you away from bad ideas to better ones.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you just did that to yourself.
Yes. So I'm, the bottom line is that I'm quite positive. It's easier than I thought, because I have granola, so I transcribe most of my meetings. So I have my own thoughts, my own notes, but I can also put in like 2 or 3 transcripts from meetings to give more context. I was also concerned about how shareable it is, but I put in the prompt that I just want a single HTML file, everything in line, so that I can just send over the single file. You only have to double click, So, and it's mostly throwaway stuff to help yourself move forward. So I don't feel threatened. Yeah. So I'm more positive about what vibe coding is, but I still hate the name. I'm really OCD about it.
Yeah, I'll come up with another name, but I think it's useful. I think the transcripts workflow, I find it's super useful. I use it all the time. And I downloaded Granola yesterday, so I'll have to ask you later like how you use it, because I think the connotation now is that people don't like robots in their room. So if you have a transcript that doesn't have to invite a robot into the room and make everyone awkward, the better.
Yeah.
But like transcript-driven design or development, I think I've been using a lot. I've been getting really good success. There's been a lot less hallucinations.
Yes.
And like a strategy I deploy there is that like there is, let's say I'm working on a project and then we have a meeting. I'm demoing what it looks like. I'm taking, and there's a bunch of feedback. I'm just taking that transcript, loading it into ChatGPT, and it's like, okay, here are the things that I need to tackle or update. Number one, I don't forget what I have, the list of things that I have to update. But let's tackle this piece by piece, and then I'll have ChatGPT, based on some back and forth, give me a prompt to give a cursor to create the thing. And then it does that. The flow seems to be working really well, and it's not that there's a lot less hallucination because it has a bit of context also.
Yeah. I mean, basically the whole transcript, let's say it's a 60-minute meeting. It's basically your whole prompt, and if you imagine that in size compared to what you can put in yourself from what you remember, it's just so much bigger. There's so much more context. The cool thing about Granola is if you have the Pro or the Plus or the paid version, you can connect it to things like Zapier. So let's say you have some sort of recurring meeting. You can then have, like, once the meeting is over, you can have it go through Zapier to Slack or Linear or anything and do something with it, even more automated. So let's say you have a weekly review from the team about work, like sprint review or whatever. You can automate it to have it send to-do items to your inbox or into Linear, for example. And what I'm using it for is when I do a role play interview with someone I'm coaching, it's transcribing the interview. And then we can look back at the answers the person gave. We can really look at, hey, you gave like 10 paragraphs of an answer here. And I was almost sleeping by that time, Here's a better 1 paragraph answer, So it's super useful. Like, I think transcribing and being able to have it start workflows, either manually or automatically, for me, like that's like a top 3 unlock by AI. And that really makes it fun for me, because I really enjoy building workflows and making things better. So it's, just to fully circle back to that thing people are saying online, like that makes it fun for me.
I'm curious, last thing on Granola, because it doesn't join the meeting, right?
No.
It just does it. And then how does it deal with like multiple participants in a room? How does it label each participant? It's like person 1, person 2, and then you?
Last time I checked, it doesn't really. It just says you and them.
Okay. So that's what them could be more than. Okay. So them is just everyone else.
Yeah, because I'm not transcribing this because a transistor does so for us. But I have it open. Really cool is when you join a meeting, it says, "Hey, meeting detected." Start transcribing. So that's really nice. I have one open here from last Thursday when I was talking to multiple people at the same time, and I can see the transcript if I can find it, because now of course, there we go. It I don't think it really takes roles at different people. It's just you and them. That's what I'm seeing now. So that could be better, but I don't know. I think Transistor does so. Like, you have to, it knows when you or myself is talking.
Okay, very cool. I downloaded it yesterday. I haven't got it working, but first thing.
It's very cool. It's very useful for me. And what I'm also going to do when you talk about transcribing is to make the episode detail pages of our website better. Is because it knows when you are talking, it knows when I am talking. To each page, it now just has the description that we also have on the YouTube video. But I'm also going to put in to have the transcript go into the Zapier, and then it goes into Claude. And I ask it to take out the main view of you and of me. Like, what does Tyler think about this topic? How would he answer the question? And then the same for me. And then I'm going to put that on the page of the episode.
Oh, very cool.
So, so this episode is about, does AI make things fun or less fun? Well, Tyler thinks, and then a nice, quote on the page. Click here to listen for more, and that's all because of transcriptions. So I think that's very cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of voice to text, as you might have noticed.
Yeah. Well, I think that because context is the most the prompt or the input is the most important part, and transcript seems like the most amount of context that you should be it's the perfect amount of context because it's literally people's thoughts transcribed to like a Word doc.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I'm very used to it now. Like I don't, when I join a meeting and you see a third person, which is just an avatar of the note taker, I feel invaded almost. But granola, you don't notice, and I'm okay with it. We are being listened to and transcribed and everything, all the time. So I notice it's getting normal. It's getting accepted for, I mean, this is recorded also, like what we're saying now, and I don't feel like I have to hold myself back at all. We are just, two people talking. Anyway, we are we're going to really deep into granola and transcribing. One thing, maybe as a related, but still, something that makes the job less fun is AI bloat. There's just so much, like you said, there's something new every 30 seconds, but also I feel like a generated email or a generated summary is way longer and bigger and using more big words than when you would do the same thing manually. This very long email could have been a bullet point list, I think that's annoying. That makes it less fun, or when someone replies to you, to your email or your message in Slack, when it's obviously a generated thing, it makes me feel like you don't care. So there are things more in the interaction and communication with people where I feel like AI is, it's demotivating.
No, I get it. Yeah, I get the same thing when I can tell and just those AI tells, I'm like disconnected. Oh, well, this person didn't write it. It's just like things that kind of put together like that. I think we're going back to that human connection that we need. So like we need things that have spelling mistakes, errors that feel human.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a solve for that. Maybe like two people who record themselves every week and take those transcripts and create an AI to kind of replicate their voice. Maybe that's a way to go.
Yeah.
For the average person, I think we need a bit of that. I can tell that this person wrote it and they really care.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So that, I made a decision a while back to like every communication I do is, handwritten or on a keyboard, but it's written by me.
Yeah.
Because I value the communication part a lot. So that's for social media posts, but also emails or Slack messages. Because just because you can use AI to do things slightly quicker, it doesn't mean you have to for everything.
With great power.
And now people will go into the comments and be like, well, you just hate AI. You're an old dinosaur, but I'm like, no, I use AI all the time, but not for literally everything I do. You can think for yourself and decide where to use it and to what degree. Rant over.
No, I think it's fair because there's a negative consequence that you might just lose yourself. So like if AI is doing everything, what are you doing? And there's a point where you might lose track of like what you said. If you're replying to every email with AI and you're messaging people on Slack with AI, like, do you remember those conversations or just you're a monkey cranking out words to people? And you're losing context and memory of like the conversations that are happening.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. So again, it's a mixed thing, but overall, I'm very positive on AI. I think it makes work more fun, mostly.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it makes it fun. It's just AI bloat conversation, but also like use it when it's necessary. If it's useful for the tool, it's like when you have a hammer, everything's a nail. Just make sure that you're using it purposefully.
Yeah, I think so. I'm maybe as a finisher for this episode, quick fire question. Are you afraid for the future of your role because of AI? Will it take over?
I don't think it will. No. I think I'm pretty confident that AI cannot design things. There's a reason why we call it AI slop because it always looks like so.
Yeah.
How about you?
I agree. I'm confident 90% of the time that AI is and will remain a tool, and that there will be enough work for us because we are better, and it makes us better. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Plus, like, just with all this AI slop, then there's a designer to fix it. So
Yeah,
we're just creating.
that's
Work
true.
is being created.
Yeah,
in
true. Yeah,
volumes.
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah, I have more and more people reaching out to me like, we generated this thing, but it doesn't work. I don't know why. It's just, there's something about it. Can you help us? It used to be 0 out of 10 projects, but now it's like 1 or 2 out of 10 projects where they start that way. So yeah, I'm positive. I think it's great, and it will stay great for.
Good.
Nice.
No fears.
No.
Stay positive, people.
Yeah. Think for yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, that's another episode in the bag.
Yeah, great episode. By the way, if you're stuck second guessing your work or trying to figure out your next move, drop a question in the comments or leave a review. We might actually feature you in one of our future episodes.
And if you got any value from this episode, hit subscribe wherever you're listening. It helps more than you think.
You can find everything else, resources, articles, and more at designtablepodcast.com.
Thanks for being here.
See you next time.